Welcome all. We will continue our discussion on electric propulsion systems for electric vehicles in terms of induction motor drives for the subject of smart grids and electric vehicles. We have already started working on discussing electric propulsion system. DC motor drives have been discussed in details. Operating principle and the background information about induction motor drives have been reviewed. Today, we will look into the principle, the basics of FOC control or vector control, called as field orientation control, oriented control. Now, why we do field orientation control is because it is needed to be understand this, that a field orientation principle defines the conditions of optimal torque production. Orthogonality of the rotor current and stator flux vectors must be maintained at all the times for producing the torque optimally. That means the aim of FOC, the primary aim of FOC is to maintain the stator field perpendicular to the rotor field in order to always produce the maximum torque, just as in the case of DC motors. But what is the difference here in induction motor case? In induction motors, the phase voltages are the only accesses for control. Now, let us review what we studied in our last class, that when balanced three-phase sinusoidal currents flow through the three phases of the stator of an induction motor, a rotating field is developed. Current is induced in the rotor. In turn, the current induced in the rotor, which is also in three-phase, produces a field, a rotating field at an angular velocity which is similar to that of the stator rotating field. The rotating fields of both stator and rotor can be described by two retorting vectors referring to a common stationary reference frame, DQ frame. And the MMFs produced by the phase current are expressed as you are seeing the expressions of FAS, FBS and FCS, where ABC represents the three phases. Then the resultant vector due to the three phases which are spatially distributed 120 degrees apart, you get the expressions like that, which is given. And assuming that the magnitude of the three-phase MMFs are identical, we get an expression as 3 by 2 Fs e to the power of omega t minus 90 degree. And this is the vectorial representation of the three-phase MMFs produced by the phase currents. This is the position of the vectors at omega t equal to 0 degree, and the right side cross section represents the omega t equal to 90 degree representation. Similar to the MMFs of the stator field, the stator voltage Vs, the stator current Is, and the stator flux lambda x can be expressed as vectors in a similar way. Please do note again that the subscript s in the mathematical expressions which you are seeing on your left side refers to that of stator, ABC refers to that of phases, the three phases, and the superscript s refers to the variable that is referred to the fixed frame. So in the superscript, if you have small s, that means you are referring to the stator fixed frame. In the superscript, if you would have small r, then that means the variable values is referred to the rotor fixed frame. And of course, this what you are seeing, the three equations, system of equations, you can represent in matrix form also, where VSS, ISS and lambda SS becomes one vector, and all of these then become the e to the power j0, j120, j240 can become the coefficient matrix. Now, using Park transformation, the vectors of stator voltage, current and flux can be described by its component in d-axis and q-axis form like this. Now, in a real induction motor, the rotor winding differs from the stator winding. That is, the effective number of turns per phase of rotor winding is not equal to that of the stator winding. Hence, what we can do, we can have a ratio which is called as the turns ratio and has to be taken into account in all our parametric representation. That means whatever stator voltage, stator current and stator flux values which we have taken referred to the stator fixed frame, the vectors of the rotor current, voltage and magnetic flux can be described in the rotor frame by taking into account the turns ratio. However, it is necessary to transform the vectors from the rotor frame into the stator frame for easy analysis. And how we can do this transformation? We can do this transformation using equations 1, 2 and 3. Please do notice here, as you can see in the equation 1, IR is both on LHS and RHS, but the superscript is S, representing that it is referring to the rotor induced current with respect to the stator fixed frame, whereas in RHS equation number 1, IRR represents the rotor current referred to the rotor fixed frame. And you divide it by the turns ratio V, which is equal to the ratio of the number of stator winding NS, that is the number of turns per phase of the stator winding NS, to the number of turns per phase of the rotor winding. Now again, coming back to the equation number 1, which you are seeing on your screen, if I am taking IRR and dividing it by the turns ratio small v, I will get the magnitude of the rotor current referred to the stator frame, stator fixed frame. But in order to get the direction, I will have to multiply it with e to the power of j theta naught. That is the vector notation, and which is easily illustrated in the figure which you are seeing on your right side. Same principle, you must have studied in induction motors in your electrical machines and also in your very much analogous to your transformer. The same expressions apply for the voltage and also the flux, VRS and lambda RS. That is the equation number 2 and equation number 3. Using vector notation, either the stator or rotor windings can be represented by a simple resistance and an inductance circuit. That means either for the stator winding or for the rotor winding, like this. So there will be one circuit for the stator winding and one RL circuit for the rotor winding. Again I repeat, one RL circuit for the stator winding and one different RL circuit for the rotor winding. For simplicity, I have represented here a generic R and a generic inductance L. Now, the very famous, if we apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law here, and if we are looking it for the stator, the equation for the stator winding can be written as that of equation number 4. And for a rotor winding, I can represent it as equation number 5. Now please look here, all the other values, you know what lambda is, what I is, what V is. RS, capital R subscript S, capital R subscript small r and superscript small r are the actual stator and rotor resistances per phase respectively. That means RS is the actual stator resistance per phase and capital RR is nothing but the rotor resistance per phase referred to the rotor fixed frame. As is known from the steady state theory of induction machines, the relationship between RR and the rotor resistance referred to the stator will be given dependent upon the view, or you have already guessed it, you might have already guessed it, it depends upon the turns ratio as is given in equation number 6. Now, what we will do here for the analysis part, because at the end as we started this lecture, that field oriented control principle is to develop a condition at which optimal torque can be produced. That means you need to get the reference values of current and voltage and the flux so that inverter can be driven, the inverter which is feeding the rotor can be driven. What we do here is we use the equation number 6, put the value of equation number 6 to equation number 5. We use the equation number 3 and put that equation in equation number 5. Again I repeat, you use the variables for you are getting out of equation number 3 and equation number 6 and you put it in equation number 5. When we do that, we get an expression like this. Right? Now, for simplicity, we introduce a differentiation operator small p as equivalent to d by dt. So this voltage equation, equation number 7, gets transformed as equation number 8. Right? Please do note that lambda SS in equation number 8 and lambda IRS in equation number 7 are different. Similarly, we can further modify it and use equation number 1, 2, 3 and 5 to get the same values for VRS. The flux vector lambda SS and lambda RS, lambda SS and lambda RS are expressed in terms of the current vectors and the motor inductances in matrix form as given in equation number 10. Please do note and refer to the equivalent per phase equivalent circuit of induction motor that we studied in last class. LM will be the mutual inductance, LS will be the stator inductance calculated as the sum of the stator leakage inductance and the mutual inductance. LR is the rotor inductance calculated as the sum of the rotor leakage inductance and the mutual inductance. Now, we got the expressions of lambda SS, lambda SR, which are dependent upon ISS and IRS from equation number 10. And also from equation 8 and equation 9, we get the expression for voltages in stator and rotor referred to the stator. So if you will see the LHS, the unknown quantities of equation number 8, 9 and 10, in LHS you have VS, VR, lambda S and lambda R all refer to the fixed stator frame. That means we can club these four and represent in matrix form like this. The equation number 11, I hope is you can see it is self-explanatory. We have used equation 8, equation 9, equation 10 and we have simply modeled it in matrix form as equation number 11. Now, if you would remind yourself, the rotor circuit of the induction motor is shorted. So, the voltages will be 0. What voltages will be 0? Rotor circuit is shorted. If rotor circuit is shorted, then VR should be 0. What VR should be 0? The D quantity of VR should be 0 and the Q quantity of the VR should be 0. That means VDRS and VQRS will be 0. and at a given rotor speed omega naught, the stator and rotor currents can be obtained by solving the equation number 11. Using this, the torque developed by the motor can be expressed as 3p by 3 Lm IQS IDR minus IDS IQR, all the four quantities referred to the stator fixed frame, which I can express in conjugation form as P by 3 Lm imaginary part of IS and IR conjugate, where you can see from this expression that Im is nothing but the imaginary part of the production of vector Is and the conjugate vector Ir, both refer to the stator fixed frame. Now transferring three-phase variables voltage, current and flux into a stationary stator-based DQ frame does not change the alternate characteristics of the variable with respect to time. Yes, AC quantities are somewhat inconvenient for the control purposes. So, for instance, control systems are usually represented by block diagrams. You would have seen in control theory, PI control, PID control, so on and so forth, in which the variables are time varying DC signals. Therefore, another transformation is necessary which allows the conversion of the AC DQ components, the alternating current DQ components of the motor vectors into its DC variables. So what we do, a transformation is conducted from a stationary stator reference frame, the DQ frame, to the so-called excitation reference frame, capital DQ. Small dq represents the stationary stator reference frame, and we will now convert this AC quantity to a DC variable, and we will call it as excitation reference frame and represent in capital D and capital Q. This excitation reference frame will rotate at an angular speed omega in the same direction as does the MMF, the equivalent MMF. As a result, in the steady state, coordinates of the motor vectors in the new reference frame do not vary with time. So what we get, as you can see here, the stator MMF vector are shown in both the reference frame. See, you know what AA dash, BB dash and CC dash are. Those are three phases of the motor, right? Now, you can see in your horizontal axis it's a small d axis, and in the y axis you have a small q axis. Now if you want to take another reference frame where you want to calculate the DC, where you want to represent it in DC component, what we do, we take into consideration that the new DQ, capital D and capital Q, is rotating at an angular speed in the same direction that of an MMF. If it is rotating at an angular speed at the same direction, in the figure as you can see from the cross section, that is at an angle oriented at an angle of omega t from AC D axis. The ACD axis is represented in small d and the DCD axis is represented in capital D. Similarly, the ACQ axis are represented in small q and the DCQ axis is represented in capital Q. Now again we have to start. First we will represent the voltage vector. We can represent the voltage vector like this. Now let us use, as you can see that it is going at an angle of omega t. Now if you will see, you know that e to the power of j omega t is equal to cos omega t plus sin omega t, and I can use this to represent in d axis and q axis transformation like this. See, in LHS, the d and q are the DC quantities for the stator, and in RHS, the small d small q represent the AC components of the stator voltage. Hence, the motor equation in an excitation reference frame can be expressed as like this. Similar approach that we have taken up till now, similar approach we will take. Here small p, which you are seeing in both the equations, is nothing but equivalent to d by dt. And yes, in the second equation you would see you have an expression omega r. Omega r is nothing but the slip speed, which is equal to omega minus omega naught. I repeat, omega r in the very last equation, RHS, p plus j omega r lambda r, the omega r is nothing but the slip speed, which is equal to omega minus omega naught. Again, the rotor voltage vector is normally assumed to be zero because of the shorted rotor winding. Hence, we get the expressions for MMFs, fluxes in matrix form like this. Expressions in matrix form for the fluxes like this. Now the torque equation in the excitation reference frame is similar to that in that of the stator frame. Same expression what we have studied up till now, but the only difference is the d-axis and q-axis quantities are represented in DC quantities. In general, accurate control of instantaneous torque produced by a motor is required in high performance drive systems such as electric vehicles and hybrid electric vehicle propulsion. The torque developed in the motor is a result of the interaction between current in the armature winding and the magnetic field produced in the stator field of the motor. The field should be maintained at a certain optimal level, sufficiently high to yield a high torque per unit of ampere current, but not too high to result in excessive saturation of the magnetic circuit of the motor. So with a fixed field, what we have that the torque is proportional to the armature current. I repeat, with a fixed field, the torque is proportional to the armature current. Now, having said all this, the independent control of the field and armature current is highly desirable. Why? Again, you must have we studied this in previous classes when we were studying for DC motor drives. The armature winding in induction motors is also on the rotor, while the field is generated by the currents in the stator winding, similar to DC motor. However, the rotor current is not directly derived from an external source but results from the EMF induced in the winding as a result of the relative motion of the rotor conductors with respect to the stator field, as both are rotating. In most commonly used squirrel cage motors, because we use squirrel cage motors only the stator current can be directly controlled. Why? Because rotor winding is not accessible, it is completely closed. So optimal torque production conditions are not inherent due to the absence of fixed physical disposition between the stator and rotor fields, and the torque equation is non-linear. Field-oriented control or vector control can realize the optimal control for transient operation of an induction drive. The FOC can decouple the field control from the torque control. The optimal torque production conditions are inherently satisfied in a DC motor, which we have seen in previous classes. The armature current IA is supplied through the brushes. It is always that armature current is always orthogonal to the field flux, L lambda F, that also we have seen. Lambda F is produced in the stator and is linking with the rotor winding. With this effect, the torque is developed, and that torque is proportional to the product of the armature current and the field flux as is given in the equation. Capital T is equal to KT IA lambda F. KT is again a constant depending upon the physical parameters of the motor. Hence, the torque of separately excited DC motors can be controlled by independently controlling the armature current and flux because it is separately excited. To emulate this independent armature and field control characteristic of a DC motor, this torque equation is rearranged so that the torque is expressed in terms of the stator current and rotor flux. Okay, may have missed here. Now, why we are talking about DC motor again so on the sudden is because whenever you are working on discussing for a field oriented induction motor, the emulator for a the field oriented induction motor is a separately excited DC motor. The field oriented induction motor emulates a separately excited DC motor in two aspects. The first aspect is both the field, magnetic field, and the torque developed in the motor can be controlled independently. And the second aspect is that the maximum torque production can happen at optimal conditions for the motor both in the steady state and in the transient conditions of operation. That means for particular ampere of current, we are able to get maximum torque at the optimal values of Is, Vs and lambda s, both in steady state and in transient conditions. Now, so what we require a separately excited DC motor. And we have already studied in a separately excited DC motor, the torque equation is what was written here, capital T is equal to KTIA lambda F. Right? Now to emulate the independent nature of armature control and field control characteristics of a DC motor, the torque equation is rearranged so that the torque is expressed in terms of the stator current and rotor flux. So what we do, we use an equation of the current in order to get the equation that we form, the equation which is given in matrix form for lambda s and lambda r in the top of the screen, which you can see. We use that equation and get the value of current. IR is equal to 1 by LR lambda r minus LMIS. Again I repeat, this equation, the third equation after the equations of torque, is nothing but the equation which we can get from the matrix equation in the top. Putting this value of current, we get the torque expression in terms of P by 3R Lm by tau R in terms of the current and the fluxes for D and Q reference frame of DC quantities. This tau R is nothing but the rotor time constant. Now, if we take that lambda QR, the MMF for the Q axis, the DC value for the Q axis is equal to 0. If we put lambda QR equal to 0 in this expression, we get the reduced torque as P by 3R Lm tau R lambda dr IQS. Now this equation, if you will see and compare it with the torque equation for describing a separately excited DC motor, you will get that these are pretty identical. Now again let us know that the induction motor's rotor windings are short circuited. In such a condition, what we can see is that the VR is equal to 0. So when we put VR equal to 0 and use the equation of small p, which represents d by dt, we get the expression. This again with field orientation control we will discuss in next class in detail. We shall also look into the two types of orientation scheme, direct rotor flux orientation scheme and indirect rotor flux orientation scheme. Also in next class, we shall also discuss the power electronic inverter circuit for the vector control of induction motor. We will look into the topology and we will discuss the switching variables in detail. Thank you very much.